For those of you who've been following this channel, you'll have already seen two videos in which I criticize Google Maps' biking directions. You'll also have seen that I couldn't use Google Maps when I was in China, so I used Apple Maps, a little bit of organic maps, and a Chinese app. In this Bike Nudge Nudge video, I'll review another option for alternative transportation routing, the Transit app. Transit has been around since 2012. I remember using it in its early days to get bus schedules. In 2018 and 2019, car, bike, and scooter share info were added to the app. In September 2024, Transit announced that the app now does bike navigation too. Since that announcement, I've been experimenting with the Transit app for wayfinding while riding my bike. It's currently my favorite app for biking directions. Before I go any further, I'd like to say that this video is not sponsored by Transit. Also, I'm not a subscriber to Transit. Everything you'll see in this video are things you can do for free in the app. I'm just doing this review because I think the app makes biking easier for me, and maybe it'll help you too, if you're looking for a better biking navigation app. Also, the team at Transit is focused on making alternative transportation better. It looks like they go through the data they receive and tune their algorithm to suggest bike routes based on 4 safety principles. Seek protected infrastructure, paint as not infrastructure, take low traffic streets, mark busy streets in-app. Now, let's look at the features that I like in the Transit app and make a few comparisons to Google Maps and organic maps. When you first open the Transit app, the reason it's called Transit becomes apparent. Half of the screen is a map with a marker for your current location, and half of the screen is a list of the transit lines which pass nearby. One thing I suggest to do right away is click on the icon in the upper left corner and set a few preferences. In public transit, you can turn off any transit systems you won't use. For some reason, in my city, light rail is the old-timey train that runs up and down the city's historical park. Setting your walking speed in the on-the-sidewalk section is important, as this will affect how long transit thinks you need to walk to, from, and between legs of a trip, or for the entire trip. As you can see in my settings, I walk fast, and would rather walk 20 minutes than wait for a bus. The two wheels preferences are similar. I'd rather ride my bike for 30 minutes than wait for a bus, and I ride my Brompton at an easy average of 20 kilometers per hour. The Transit app will also display the locations of bike, scooter, and car share. I've left those on just for interest. I really like the customization settings, even though there are no options that I've seen to customize the map appearance or show different layers. Now, let's see some of the features in action. Navigation in the map is straightforward. You enter where you'd like to go and then are presented with options. Once your options are presented, you can enter a starting location different than your current one. The different transit options are ranked by the arrival time, and there's also walking and biking options. I'm going to skip talking any more about walking or transit and focus on the biking directions. Once you select the biking directions, I'm usually presented with 3 route choices. It's at this point that the Transit app differentiates itself from other apps. High-stress sections of the route are highlighted in yellow. At the bottom of the map, there's an elevation profile, an indicator bar showing high-stress sections and bike lanes, and the percentage of the ride that will be high-stress. I haven't seen an option to add an extra destination to a route, or alter a proposed route by hand. Please leave a comment if you found these things or anything else I've missed that you think is important. When you have a route highlighted, you can scroll through the turn-by-turn directions. Once you're in motion, the Transit app has some nice features. There are large turn indication icons, your current speed, and your progress along the route. You can make use of the small button on the top right to show a close-up of your position or the entire route. The app will notice if you've left the planned route and automatically give you a new route. This trigger's about the only thing I don't really like about the app. I would like it if the progress indicator kept your progress since you started the route to when you deviated from the proposed route, instead of resetting and making it look like you just started riding. I know, that's a pretty small detail to nitpick about. Everything I've said so far is pretty standard for navigation apps, but the lower stress routes is what sets Transit apart. What else is notable about Transit? Let's take a look at some of the nitty-gritty details. The Transit app is built using street and transit data from cities around the world. That seems to make the app quite responsive to local conditions, and the app asks the user to rate each trip at the end. The Transit team uses those ratings to improve the suggested routes. Here's one example. I've mentioned this little data error before. Google Maps still doesn't have the correct data, and I've known about the issue for well over a year now. The contraflow bike lane ending seems to not be coded correctly in Google's database. This was also an issue in OSM-based apps, like organic maps. I remember one of my commenters saying they'd fixed the tags in OSM, and this issue looks good now. This area has been good for me on the Transit app ever since bike directions were available. This is just one example I've noticed. Please leave a comment if you've noticed routing errors like this in your routing app of choice. Even though this example is a plus for Transit, for the most part, Transit's data seems to be similar to Google or OSM. In this example, all the apps want me to go down this road and make a left across a busy road. In reality, people biking tend to use this bridge even though it is classified as a sidewalk. All apps also direct people riding bikes to use this shared path, when people riding bikes tend to use this sidewalk. And, of course, no navigation app knows about the super secret shortcuts. Still, I've had mostly good experiences with Transit suggesting low-stress routes. Another thing I like about Transit is it has a very good points of interest database. I've had bad experiences with OSM-based apps and being able to search for points of interest. Sometimes I find what I'm looking for, but more often I don't. So far, everything I've searched for has been in the Transit app points of interest database. On an iPhone, you can also save your favorite Transit actions to the control center. I have 2 shortcuts saved. One opens the Transit app and takes me directly to the search. The other gives me directions to my favorite bakery for cookies. Sometimes you have to set your priorities. The last thing I'll mention is a little negative. The data in the Transit app were built up city by city from each city's data. That means there are no data between cities. If your origin or destination is outside the extent of the data in the app, you're out of luck for directions. You can see in the video that Transit is suggesting the closest bus route to the location indicated by the pink dot. When I move the dot to the west, I'm outside the extent of the data. The app switches to showing me an Apple map because I'm on an iPhone. And Transit tells me there's no nearby transit. Just something to be aware of if you live on the outskirts of one of the cities covered by the Transit app. And that's my look at the Transit app. If you're looking for directions for active transportation, I suggest giving the app a try. Transit, walking, biking, and all shared mobility options are there. It has a good points of interest database, is fairly easy to use, and has some good customization options. Its strongest point is that the bike directions prioritize safe routes, hence this video. During my use, I haven't been directed to ride on lots of very stressful roads, and there's a warning in the app when the route might be stressful. The only big downside is the limited coverage. Please leave a comment if you're a Transit user and think I've missed something important. Thanks for watching.